All right, guys, welcome to the FitBanker Challenge pre-challenge webinar. This is a info session for people that are already signed up to the program or those that will be that are looking to sign up and want to find out more. These are recorded so that we can share with anybody that joins halfway, or anyone that misses it will be able to get that. Great. So without much ado, let's get started. So this webinar is called Redefining Success, and really inspired by my story, but also really resonated with a similar story that Arianna Huffington talks about. And she's done a number of talks on redefining success. And she shares how we're in a world where a lot of people's perception of success is that success has to do with money and power. But money and power is like a two-legged stool, and at some point it's bound to fall over. And that's if we miss out on the third pillar, or the third leg of the stool. And she defines that third leg as a number of factors, one of which, very important, is well-being. So she calls well-being wisdom, wonder, and giving, what she calls her third metric. And she says that shared this from her own experience. I'm not sure if you're aware of her story, but right now she's a very big advocate, and she's written a book called The Sleep Revolution, and she goes around preaching and really sharing to people, and forces it in her company, and speaks at many other companies and universities and so on, around prioritizing getting good enough sleep. That we're in a world where if we think success is only power and money, what happens is we might be making monetary capital, but the human capital in our jobs, in our businesses, or as consultants, or whatever we do individually, is ourselves. And we really often have ourselves not prioritized. We deprioritize us, and we lose that human capital, which is us. We become less productive, we become unwell, and at times we even die. So when we think we're the greatest asset to our business, we need to know that we need to take care of ourselves really well. Similarly, with why FitBanker exists, we call everyone that signs up a FitBanker if you get that others bank on your fitness, and therefore you have to bank on your fitness too. So that's part of the reason behind why we're called FitBanker. So before we get started and talk about the challenge, I'd like to share with you all my story from Fat Banker to Fit Banker. So many of you may have known this. You might have met me at an event, or you may have been referred to come and join this webinar from someone who's done the program, and they've caused amazing results. And people do this, and there isn't really any other incentive for them other than they've just got amazing results, and so they're inviting you to come and discover and explore what we're about. And so this is going to be between a 30 to 45-minute session for us to go over this, and then there'll be time for any questions thereafter. So as mentioned, I used to work in the city, and after a great, or what I thought then in old definition what success was, living a successful career, which I really enjoyed, don't get me wrong, but what was happening was my life became all about what's important is this job, and I had to have this financial revenue coming in, and I needed this financial security, and I got a lot of my self-worth from there. I've worked in financial services, and the last 6 years of that was with JP Morgan, and I've been there for about 12 years in total. I've worked all over. I've worked in Zambia, in Kenya, in Senegal, in the UK, in Channel Islands, and in New York. And I've done a lot of travel across Europe as well for business. So I was vice president with JP Morgan. We had a great time at work. We also had a great social life after hours. We had pretty long hours, and we had a lot of great social life thereafter. Much like that picture in the bottom right corner. Not exactly those kinds of parties, but we did have a lot of fun. That's a scene from The Wolf of Wall Street. And what happened when I was living this so-called life of success is that I turned out to be this guy, and I thought this was just normal. This is just what happens to me, and my body ends up this way because I looked at my dad and he was overweight, and I thought this must be genes, this must be genetic, or I read somewhere that after 30 you cannot control your metabolism. It goes down and it slows down. I just thought that's just what's happening to me. There's nothing I can do about that. So I identified a number of reasons that all confirmed and gave me further evidence to demonstrate that I couldn't do anything about my health. Now, many of us in the area of health are holding on to these points of views or limiting beliefs that we've taken on and adopted from many a place. I took this on from genetics, or from the theory of over 30 your metabolism slows down, or there's a reason they call them fat bankers, is the job is stressful, and this happens to your body and it's pretty normal, but it really isn't normal. And all I did was I really got that while I saw myself as somebody that was still per se full of life, I used to get a lot of my energy and confidence and humor from things like my job title and my salary and that. And I thought that's what made me. But underneath that was really somebody who I think had lost a lot of self-love. And that's what I got to discover much after my transformation. So as you can see, I really did a lot then. That was 2014 when we did Mount Kilimanjaro. It was 100 kilos when I summited that, 103. We're doing that again, by the way, this November. If anyone's interested, it's something you want to nudge us for right away. That was me in New Zealand on the right as well, on the beach, and at a social. And, still living what I thought was life, and it really wasn't. And while I was living this life and enjoying all that this life could afford, in 2013, this was us at Fringe Festival. We went to the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh. And for those of you that are aware of Fringe Festival, it's meant to be like one of the largest gatherings of entertainers, performers, artists. There's drama, there's comedy, there's theater. There's a lot of performances. The whole town turns into the world's largest, open air exhibition across the whole town. And you have a number of performances happening. And we go there because there's a lot of fun and happiness and joy and giggles. And we're there celebrating a couple of things. We're celebrating, three things. Firstly, we were newly married. It was a good breakaway after we got married. It was my wife's birthday, so we're there for her birthday weekend, or birthday week. We'd taken a few days. And on top of that, we were also pregnant, and we were 3 months pregnant. And that was a perfect place and time to go and celebrate. And we were going to announce the day it turned 3 months, we're going to announce to the world that we were expecting. However, shortly before going there, my wife had some bleeding, and while we were there, we actually had a miscarriage, and we lost our baby. And so while everything looked beautiful and bright going there, and I thought I was living what was success, suddenly we had a blowout in the area of health. And immediately we went into our heads and making ourselves wrong, and we were really stressed about it and questioning, is it because of my wife's health? Is it because of my health? And I started researching and questioning, has it got to do with the male partner in procreating, that whose health could impact the health of a baby, and various things. I was stressing about it, and the following day, as we came back to add salt to the wound, as we were on the train back, I got these random heart palpitations. And I thought, it's just something else, it will go away. And they carried on the whole train ride down. I remember going home and telling my wife, the whole way I was complaining about it. When I got home, I told her it's still there. And I said, I'm just going to drink some water. I'll do some deep breathing. I'm sure I'll be all right. And I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up in the morning. And immediately she screamed. She's like, there's no way I'm waking up tomorrow having lost another one. And it really, really hit me in that moment that it wasn't about me. It wasn't what I thought, how I'm doing with my body. It wasn't about the jokes I made about my well-being or how I didn't want to deal with it. I would bring humor to it. It was nothing about that. And I really realized that others counted me. Anyway, long story short, I ended up in a hospital. I ended up hospitalized. I went through a host of tests, ECG stress tests. I had a number of blood tests. I had a number of follow-on checkups and reviews. And all through the night, I was being monitored. My wife sat there next to me. There wasn't a bed for her to rest or anywhere to sleep. She literally sat there on the couch. She was dozing off. And I got really, really clear for myself that I didn't want to live a life dependent on any medical system. We had to continually and ongoingly go in for checkups and visits. I know of many elders, including my family, people that had these pill cases, and they were always on these various pills, and they their husbands or their wives played police of taking care of them, say, have you had your pills, and you need to take this and that, and grandparents do this. And I just thought, why do people get to that stage? Why can they not take ownership? So the first thing I got clear for myself is I really didn't want to end up being one of those. And secondly, I knew I could do something about it. And so that sparked off a lot of research into various training programs, trying various boot camps, trying things like running, trying various diets. I began recording. I started creating this online journal. So I've got on my personal page on Facebook, I've got a little album called My Health and Fitness Journey. And in there, I've posted lots of photos about it. And I realized as I was doing that it started getting a lot of traction, started getting a lot of support, and I started learning stuff. But don't get me wrong, it wasn't just Google and you get the answer. I found out a lot of things through failure and injury. So exercising when I was overweight is a bad thing. I really injured and damaged my knees. Till today, I have damage on my knees, which I don't think can be reversed to my cartilage. Every time we'd run when we're overweight, depending on where you're running, if it's uphill, downhill, or flat, if you're flat or downhill, you have a 3 to 4 time body weight impact to each joint. So at 108 kilos, thumping my joints means 324 kilos worth of pressure hit my knees. And that caused cartilage damage. And I learned many other things that weren't working and that were causing injury. I found very inefficient ways of training, right? I could train for 2 hours and burn only X amount of calories, or I could do the same in 25 minutes and burn more calories, right? So identifying ways that worked and didn't work, and really which exercise worked, I was really able to bring together a system of combining nutrition, exercise, and then a lot of coaching on mindset to really alter my relationship to food and exercise so that the journey was enjoyable and so that I could make it lasting. And so while I was doing this, I'd realized that I'd reached a point where I was losing 5.5 kilos a month. And while I was losing 5.5 kilos a month for 3 months straight, so 16.5 kilos went in 3 months period, I then see some guys online. They're very successful entrepreneurs, they're public speakers, and they run these business training seminars. And they posted that they're going to do this body transformation program. And I saw them, and I know that they were having a bit of a laugh about it. But I thought, you know what? I could jump on. This will encourage me. So I reached out to them and said, guys, I want to join you on your program. And they're like, sure, just post your photo. And I thought, oh my God, how could I post my photo? I immediately went in my head, so what will my parents think? What will my in-laws think? What will my former colleagues think? It really mattered what my friends and my colleagues would say or comment when they see my photos up there. It was like, if I did that, I'd just want to disappear for a few days. What would they think? And that's what I did. I said, if this feels uncomfortable, it's the right thing to do. And so I posted the image on my left. And when I posted that, I thought, oh my God, I hope a hole opens beneath me as I'm standing or sat at this laptop or on my phone and I disappear. But it didn't open up, and nobody mocked me, nobody laughed me. I just got loads of comments and support come below that photo. And I thought, wow, maybe these people all thought that I was overweight, but nobody had the courage to say it to me because we're in such a politically correct world. And by posting this, by saying that I'm taking charge and ownership of this, I actually gave them permission to say, you know what, you can tell me I'm doing the right thing. And they did, and they really supported me. And secondly, I thought, if I'm posting this, I'm going to give them an update in 10 days, or I'm going to give them an update in 15 days and day 30. To give them that update, I don't want to come back and update them that the results are the same. And so I really was able to perform at a certain level, there was no way I was not going to cause results. So there's a power in posting our photos because if you understand how the human identity works, if we love to look great, meaning look great, avoid shame, then we will act to do that. But we can use that in a positive way. We can use that nature of the human identity in a positive way to drive us to cause results. In fact, it's what drives us when we're in a job and we're a performer. It's what drives us when we're Olympians. It's what drives us when we're in any sport. It's what drives us when we do great in entrepreneurship. So it's a great driver to use. And at the end of day 90, what turned out was the photo on the right. So we focus on this program on understanding body composition more than body weight. And that means your fat percentage, your muscle mass, and so on, understanding what you're made of. So the image on the left, I think I was about 19% fat, and on the right, I had come down to 11.3. But before this one, just before this, I had lost that about 20 kilos. I'd already lost. So I was 108, and I've lost about 21 kilos at this point. And then I started my challenge. So 21 kilos already gone in about 3.5 or 4 months. And then I start this program. And I lost, I was probably about 30 to 35% body fat at the time. And from there, I came down to 11.3. And later on, I went further down to 5.9% at my peak. So this was about 5.96%. And after that, flurry of people reaching out, asking questions, wanting to know how I did it, what did I eat, how did I train. That was the birth of FITBANKER, partly a play on FATBANKER to FITBANKER, but as mentioned earlier, it's really about getting that others bank on our fitness. And that's really what we invite each and every participant to come on and to be someone that really banks on their fitness, because you get others bank on you being fit. So what is it we do, and what's possible inside of a program? What have we caused? Over 200 people have done this program from across 15 countries. It's done predominantly online through webinars, email, and social media. We leverage social media quite a lot. We exist on Facebook, and we think that's where a lot of people hang out. So we decided, if people are going to hang out on Facebook a lot, might as well be there to provide them some value-adding content rather than a lot of the noise and junk that comes on. So this is a doctor, one of our first participants that did it, or well, one of the earlier challenges. She lost 9.1 kilos in 90 days. She's a doctor, physician from West Coast in the US, and you'd have thought that doctors would know a lot of stuff, but she wasn't the only one. There were many that joined. This is Andrew Walker. He's somebody that now is an actor in the musical Priscilla. He got so much confidence through his transformation, 20-something kilos lost. I think he lost more beyond this. And he went back to pursue his passion. And so he's one of two people that used to do acting in their teen years. And two of them have both gone back into, in fact, Ellie's the second one. She's gone back into acting. She's lost 20 kilos. She lost 11.3 in her 90 days, but she's overall since lost a further 9, and she's 20 kilos lighter since, and so much more empowered around it. This is what I call the Fit Doctors. They do this fitness campaign and drive every year, where they drive across the US, and they go there and meet patients. They're both top urologists in their sport, but they go and talk about men's health. And these guys, the guy on the left, he lost 53 pounds. The guy on the right lost 30-something pounds. And it was so interesting because now they really feel empowered and love what they do in inspiring people to take on health. And previously, they've been doing it for 2 years, being overweight and not knowing what to do about that. They used to focus so much on exercise. But since understanding and getting how this program works, they've caused these amazing results. People ask us, do we cater for vegetarians and vegans? This is one of our vegans. She's lost 15. I think she went on to lose 17 kilos. However, my favorite stories are these. Our focus is on health. This is a lady called Manisha I think she's from Virginia in the US. And she signed up to us because shortly after she had a baby, or third baby, she was diagnosed with gestational diabetes during pregnancy. Then she was pre-diabetic, and she was about to be diagnosed as type 2 diabetes. And she reached out to us basically crying. She knows me. She basically said that she was spending so much on medication and insulin, and she had to get these regular jabs, and insurance was high, and she couldn't afford to do our program. I said, what if you did our program and it could transform you and you could do away with those costs? And so she did. And she ended up losing, I think, about 14 kilos or so. She went for a visit within the first month, and the doctor says, you are no longer pre-diabetic. They were blown away. They had to test her again. They weren't sure what caused that big change in results. By end of it, it was a beautiful post, a very emotional post she shared of all her box of syringes and insulin. And she was like, it costs so much. If there's anybody that's diabetic that needs them, feel free to come and get them from me. I no longer need them. This is Ushma. Very, very amazing story. Her and her hubby, since marriage, were struggling to conceive. They went to see many doctors. Doctors said they wouldn't be able to do it naturally because she's overweight. She started the IVF process. They had a baby. They were trying again a second time. Now, this was what was interesting is, even though the second time they were going the IVF route, the IVF clinic refused to take her on because they said your chances of conception are significantly low. And so she had to lose weight. She spent a whole year trying to lose weight naturally, trying pills, potions, wraps. I've heard there's a thing called wraps. I don't know what they are. And she lost only 3 kilos in a year. She came to that program, and by week 10, she had lost about 8 or 9 kilos. She was approved to start her IVF process, and before the end of the program, she was pregnant again, and she's now the mum of 2 twins. So they were trying for one baby, they got twins, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but now there's been some breakthrough where, despite IVF and unexpected, I believe they're expecting third set of babies, so the fourth child naturally, and this wasn't even planned. So, we do brag a bit about the impact of fertility. One of my favorite stories is this dude. I call him Dad. He came here on holiday, or what he thought was holiday, or what he thought was his typical holiday back then. And he thought it would be all about going out, chilling, relaxing, eating food. But it wasn't. Day one, we let him rest. Day 2, we went into the gym. We checked out him and Mum's fat percentage. I had to sit them down and I had to say, guys, we need to talk about health. You guys aren't grandparents. We've not seen our grandparents. We'd love for you guys to be grandparents. Why don't we start prioritizing this little vehicle of yours called your body? Explain to them the science of what we do and how it works. And they decided to do a program. And Dad ended up losing, he was 90 kg. He was on a high cholesterol statins. He had high BP medication. And he was just overweight. He had done no amount of physical activity where he would walk more than 2 or 3 kilometers intentionally. Does our program. He struggled initially to walk 2 or 3 kilometers. By the end of it, he was easily able to walk 7, 8 kilometers. To date, he has now lost 20 kilos. Within 4.5 months or 5 months after he started, he was told to discontinue his high BP and high cholesterol medication because he naturally turned that around. And he's now free and he's now very healthy. He's the healthiest he's been in 72 years of his life. And so when some people come and say, I'd love to do this, but I can't do the intense activity, I'm not your age, I say it's got nothing to do with age. It's just got to do totally with mindset and the willingness to learn. So you have to think a 72-year-old man, he was 70 when he started, he has lost 20 kilos since. It was just before he turned 71. So in 4.5 months, he lost about 17 kilos. And then he's gone on to lose over the year. A year since, he's just gradually again reduced weight through very simple shifts in eating habits, cutting out some foods that don't work, and consuming foods that really boost his metabolism. So anything is really possible, and our focus is on health. Now, how do we do this? Well, we coach on 4 main muscle groups. So we coach you through the program. Much of this may happen consciously, some of it may happen subconsciously or unconsciously. We coach on the mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical muscle. And you will learn more about this as we go through the program. So what do we do specifically in the program? What will cause the results? Firstly, it's not just about exercise. Many people think the answer is exercise, and they think exercise is intense, or they have some relationship to exercise where it's painful, it's intense, I don't have time. Whatever your story is around exercise, I want you to know exercise is 10% of the program. 40% of your results will be caused by your focus on nutrition, but 50% has really got to do with your mindset. We have people come here with the wrong mindset. They come and do the program like, I've signed up, fix me. This is online. This is something which requires your partnership at your end. We really count on you to be doing your bit of what we invite you to do each week. We're going to provide you with training programs. We're going to provide you with meal plan ideas. It will require you to take those on. By the way, you only get those by end of the second week. So for the first 2 weeks, there's a lot of discovery. We will tell you what you cannot eat. And for 2 weeks, you got to think, if I can't eat those, what can I eat? You get creative, you go shop around. We give you a shopping list. You go and look at what you can do, what you can create within the first 2 weeks. Secondly, big psychological drive, as explained about my own journey. There's power in declaration and sharing, right? Many of you know of me or know of or have seen participants cause amazing results. And that has been all because they share what they're up to. But when you like and comment, they also get fueled and continue to perform and participate, right? Nothing wrong with that if you get that you're sharing to inspire people. Very different from any form of showing off or whatever judgment or story you might make of it. There is power in you being a contribution to other people, and you start relating to yourself as a leader. If you create an expectation out there, people have an intention of you that, oh, you're someone that now goes to the gym, you're someone that now eats healthy. And by posting your before photos, saying you're doing this, you will transform it. I have a cousin who all his photos on Facebook are all about him eating and out drinking. And when he went for a recent wedding holiday with some cousins, all they did was mock him about his eating and took photos of his shirt button popping up. If that's what we share, that's what we will get attention and energy around. He signs up to my program. He's not yet on day 30. He's not yet on day 30. He signed up, I think it was 110 or so kilos. I have to look at what his weight was. He's lost 9 kilos. So 9 kilos of this guy has disappeared because he shared that this is what he's up to. So I almost say that as human beings, or who we are as individuals, our identity, we show up inside of the intention ourselves and others have of us. So you got to create that intention out there by really declaring and sharing on an ongoing basis what you're up to. Another great guy, a lot of people do this, top performers. This is what Obama said, yes, we can. And his speech when he was leaving as president was, yes, we did. And another athlete that did this was Muhammad Ali, kept saying, I'm the greatest. And I said that even before I knew I was. There's a difference between being overconfident or cocky and conviction. Conviction and belief in what you are up to, right? Because you have zero dependency on the outside world when you get your 100% responsible. So that's my invite to anyone that signs up. Sign up, share, and post with total conviction that you're going to cause amazing results, and see how much more fueled you are when you know that you're doing this and that you are entirely in control of your performance. And we will give you the formula, the recipe, the system that works and that has caused results for the hundreds prior to you. Third is a beautiful quote by Jim Rohn. He says, you're the average of the 5 people you spend your most time with. So if you think about it, historically, that would be very true. We would go and hang out with people at work or our family at home or friends that we regularly catch up with. We were often the average of those 5. And that's a very small and limited circle of people to interact with. But in this day and age, with technology, we can literally hang out with anyone you want to. You can follow anyone you admire or your idol on social media. But it also works if you're transforming your health, you surround yourself with people that are up to the same. And that's what we create and provide by this online campus. We have a group called FITBANKER Campus. You can search for it on Facebook called FITBANKER Campus. Request to join, but we will only add you to it after you've posted your before photo. Once your before pic is posted to our public page, then we will add you to this campus. And there's a lot of sharing and ongoing breakthroughs of what people are up to daily, what they're cooking, what they're doing in terms of activity, and really, really keeps people in action. Even much after the program, after the 90 days, it stays as a place and space of inspiration. So you also have myself, and you also have other team members who are available to reach out to. We also create smaller teams where you set up a WhatsApp group and you're part of a smaller team, so you can share daily what you guys are up to, keep each other in check and accountable. And some people are comfortable sharing more there on the smaller groups than they are on the wider groups. But you must entirely relate to all and every fit banker as someone that has been through this journey, just as you are. Ask any question. No question is silly. And there's only a lot of love and empathy for anyone else that joins. Goal setting and planning. In life, we know what to do. We know that if we create projections of what we're going to do in the finance world or in our budgets, then we end up checking in with those of how we're doing. Similarly, when it comes to our health transformation, there's a saying Tony Robbins says, which is, you cannot manage that which you cannot measure. And so if we start to measure our progress, things like our starting fat percentage, our starting weight, our starting strength metrics, like how long does it take for us to run 5 kilometers, or how much can we maximum bench press, or 10 reps, or how many push-ups can we do maximum, or how long can we plank for. If we measure that at the start, then we measure that every week, you will begin to monitor progress. And you can set your goal at the start of where you want to get to. for things like our body composition, there are optimal percentages or guides that we can use and that we provide of where you should get to in terms of optimal fat percentage. So identify where you currently are, your starting point, and where you need to get to. So great thing to do is now, about a week or 10 days before, go and get those measures. You can go and get them from like a Boots, or many gyms have these scales that can do this. Take photos of your readings, put that together with your starting before photo, and you can start to post from now. You don't need to wait for the start of the program. The sooner you post, the better. Then we can add you to campus even before your challenge start date. But also, sometimes you're planning each week. We say that if you put in your diary that you're going, or this hour is blocked out daily for gym or for health investment time, right? Call it health investment time. Then you are 40% more likely than not to go and do something in that time if you have it scheduled in. So we really invite you. It might sound simple, but the act of writing it down in a book, or writing it down in your diary, or putting it as a Outlook or iCalendar event on your phone and with a reminder, is going to have an increased likelihood of you going there and doing it. So just doing that, or sharing with your team that this is what I'm doing this week, sharing it with them will have you go and actually update people when you've gone. Fifth is accountability. Accountability here is not like I'm holding you accountable for this, like a blame game, or you're responsible for someone's success or lack of. What we mean by accountability here is really in the accounting sense. So I found it really surprising, and I found how it was interesting that I was driven every January when I'm doing my tax returns online. I was like, oh my God, why do I have to gather and collect all this information? I have to look at all my revenue earned in the year, how much I made on stocks and shares, and any additional income I may have made, and any expenses or donations to charity. And I would submit that all on my tax return so I could tell the taxman how much I owed them. I'm like, why do they really get my responsiveness? Why am I always so accountable to them? But why do we do that in the area of money, but we don't do that for our own bodies? We don't record our bodies like are made up of energy. We are pieces of energy, and we can measure those energy like calories. So why don't we record what we actually spend as a body and what we actually consume as a body? And if we could do that, then we can actually create almost like a cash flow projection. Like just as in a profit and loss account, you can say each month if we make 10,000 and if we spend 5,000, then we will make a 5,000 profit each month. And by end of the year, we could have a nice 60,000 profit. Let's say if it was constant for the year. But if we did that for weight loss, right? We could, if we said that if we consumed every day, I don't know, 1,800 calories, but we burned 2,500 calories. So we create a 700 calorie deficit each day. By end of the week, we would have lost, somewhere between 3,500 to 5,000 calories, right? And if you burn 3,500 calories in a week, that scientifically translates to 1 kilo of fat being burnt. So there's a maths to this. You can actually project how much you will lose by end of the week if every day you match and record everything and you calculate your deficit. So how do we do that? We've got technology now. We've got apps for that. So if you're on this program, I want you to take a screenshot of this in particular, and I want you to note these two particular apps and download them. One is called Runkeeper and one is called MyFitnessPal. Under both of them, there's a functionality to, first of all, sync the two. You can connect the two. So look under the settings and a section called apps and devices, and connect the two. And once you connect the two, you also will set up your own profile and settings in them from the moment you launch them. It will ask you for your name, your date, your age, your height, your starting weight, your goal weight. It will ask you whether you want to lose weight, maintain, or gain. And if you wanted to lose weight, it will tell you how much to consume in terms of calories. But not only that, we can also adjust where we get those calories from. So firstly, for Runkeeper, there's a setting which says use GPS. So make sure you're using GPS. So if you're going outdoors, it will map your route. But if you are doing an indoor exercise, like on a treadmill, there's a way of manually entering. So you take a photo of what the machine in the gym said, and then you'll have to manually enter the duration, the distance covered, and the number of calories burnt. You record those three. And Runkeeper will feed into MyFitnessPal. So MyFitnessPal will tell you how many calories you're allowed to eat in a day once you've entered your starting weight and your end weight, and how much you want to lose each week. So important thing you need to know, if you're doing weight loss, for now, we will update this when you start the program, but for now, you put lose 1 kilo per week. Then secondly, you want to update what's called your macro goal. So it will ask you to do your macro settings. And your macro settings means macronutrients simply means proteins, fats, and carbs, right? Those are the macronutrients. So how much of protein do we get from a particular food? How much fat? How much carbs? This records everything. So when people ask you, are you having a carb-free diet or having zero carbs? The answer is no. We are consuming carbs, but we're going to consume certain types of carbs. 2 days before your program starts, you're going to get an email which will give you a list of banned foods. And in those are many carbs that you're not allowed to have. And so 40% carbs, or 40% of our energy will come from carbs, 30% will come from fat, and 30% from protein. Now, it will default, MyFitnessPal default sets it to 20% protein and 50% carbs, but you want to adjust that. You want to make sure you set it to 30 protein, 30 fat, and 40 carbs. And then you want to connect with me on both apps. So search for FitBanker under friends or contacts, connect with me, send me a friend request. And under MyFitnessPal, there's an area called settings, diary sharing, and it will be under private. You want to change that to public so that when you add me as a friend, I can review what you're consuming and I can give you feedback from time to time. Now, I don't sit and go through everyone and see what they're eating, but when you have recorded 5 days worth of food and you want me to review and give you some feedback, then I will do that. So I invite you to do that for 5 days in a row. Once you've recorded, then come and let me know. And then there'll be various assignments for you to record foods, see how many calories certain foods are, and then look in Runkeep and see how long does it actually take to spend those amounts of calories. So we start to form a relationship with food that we haven't had before. We've had a relationship with food that's been taste-based, or it's been convenience-based, or maybe it's been cost-based. But now we can form a relationship with food that is numbers-based. And there will be other relationships we'll form with food over the program, like functionality. What's the function of food? What role does it play? Or what I call, what is the dharma or the dharmic duty, the responsibility of those foods? Knowing what the foods are made up of, knowing what role they play, we will begin to alter what we consume and when we consume them, more importantly. Okay, but ultimately, other than those 5 points that really cause results inside of our program, this is what we're up to. This, if any of you guys have tried, is called Tough Mudder. There's a photo from Tough Mudder. This is one of the challenges, and I think it's called the pyramid scheme. And you can see why it is. People go down at the bottom, and they get somebody to climb on top of them on their shoulders. They then lift somebody further up above them, who then pushes someone to the top. We have others at the top in life in this game, and they pull them up. And I think this is a brilliant analogy in life for how we develop leaders. So I went through a particular program. I've discovered a certain way that works. And they say in life, success leaves clues. So all I'm doing is I'm sharing what I've learned, and by that, empowering and uplifting others to look into this way of understanding food and exercise. And so we also invite you to do the same, because we're committed to developing leaders of you. If you participate in this program, like I'm just here to get my results and out, you're likely to probably stop performing within a couple of weeks or a month. If you come onto this program like, I'm doing this because I want to uplift others, I want to teach others, I want to learn this like I can teach it. It's one of the best ways to learn so that you can uplift others. And in that, we're making leaders out of you. So we have opportunities for people to become team leaders in this program. We have opportunities for you to later play a role within FitBanker. We have many people that work within FitBanker, some on a voluntary basis, some on a paid basis, but they're all people who have done the program and they are bought into the results that they have caused, and they know that they can offer this to others out there. And that ultimately is our commitment. And the one way that we do this, and the one way this developing leaders has always been done, is you won't be a leader by learning what to preach. You will be a leader by being the change you wish to see in the world. And so ultimately, this is my invite to you guys to be the change you wish to see in the world. And so that's what I want to leave you with. That said, thank you guys for being on, and do reach out to us if there are any further questions. I'm just going to pause recording now, and I'm opening now to any questions, but we can stop for now. And if you're listening in on the recording, please message us on Facebook or email us if you have any further queries. Thanks for being tuned in.